Good morning and welcome to Community Matters. If you just joined us, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Hope it's going to be a pleasure for you listening to the programme. It will be, because it's not just me rabbiting on. I've got a great guest in the studio, a friend of Crossribbons, friend of mine. I'd like to think we could say that. We've had a coffee together. Laura Fraser-Crewes. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
It's great seeing your studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Laura, you are the, I'll get this wrong all right, lead officer of Transforming Plymouth Together.
I am, and I'm 5 weeks into my post.
5 weeks
so
in
don't
post.
ask me any complicated questions.
I thought you were going to say, don't ask me any questions
Don't ask
about
me any
Transforming
questions.
Plymouth Together. I will, though. So, okay, so 5 weeks in. So
Yep.
clearly this is going to be the first, hopefully, of a few interviews as the role progresses.
Absolutely.
Because great work being done in and for the city. But tell us about Transforming Plymouth Together. What is it?
Okay, it's a very small charity, but it's a Christian charity, and it's been going for 10 years, which is remarkable. And it was started up originally under the Church Urban Fund, and it's part of a network called Together Network across the country. And it was set up really to address poverty and in local areas, and also to just make, I think our strap line is to make Plymouth a fairer city. So it's done amazing things, and actually it was really came into its own during COVID, particularly addressing food poverty and supporting churches in what they were doing at that time. So it's done some incredible things, and actually it's won the King's Award for Voluntary Service, which is amazing. I can't take any credit for that because it was before my time, but it's great. I've come in, and my task really is to start a new season, really, to really look at what's happening in the city and see how we as a charity can support primarily churches, but also other community groups in what they're doing to tackle deprivation in the city. And that's all sorts of deprivations, not just economic poverty, but health inequalities, either social inequalities, education, whatever it is. We are really keen to work with the churches to be that solution, and that's our uniqueness. Really, is that we're Christian. We have access to church groups, which is great.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? As being a church-founded organisation, Church Urban Fund, as you've said, that gives you more direct access into the churches. It takes down some barriers for you. Sounds like you're looking to build bridges outside of churches as well, which is good.
Yeah.
How many bridges have you? No, how many bridges have you built in 5 weeks?
I've had loads of meetings. I've met so many people. I had a lovely meeting with one of the local councillors yesterday, and I've chief execs of sort of statutory organisations. It's been great. A real sort of smorgasbord of different people. And I'm just really excited because there is an appetite for people to find creative solutions to sort of these ongoing problems, which are not going away at this moment. But there's a real keenness to work in partnership, and certainly amongst the churches as well, which is really exciting.
I mean, churches working together has become a thing. I think it's increased over the last 20 years. My experience in church life, that's increased. But church working with the city, church working with smaller charities that aren't faith-based or maybe even sometimes other faith-based. When you say the title of the organisation, Transforming Plymouth Together, it sounds like a no-brainer. It's pretty self-explanatory.
We should be doing what's on the tin, to be fair. But it's a bit of a hefty title, transforming. I mean, my prayer every day is, Lord, can you just help me to do this? Because it's such an amazing sort of thing to aim for, isn't it? Transformation's huge.
Well, maybe we'll have a look at other organisations and other people that are involved in the work that you're doing, Laura. We'll take a break for some music, come back and hear more from Laura right after. Laura, touched a little bit on the enormity of the task that you've got at Transforming Plymouth Together. I mean, Plymouth being transformed is an ongoing thing, and it always will be. It is a huge thing. Obviously, TPT isn't an organisation that is trying to do that on its own. No. Who, first of all, in your team, just to get an idea of scale and size, other people in your team, who would you give a shout out to?
We are teeny tiny. So we've got the amazing John Williams, who I'm not going to give his age away, but he's been around a long time, and he's sort of an expert in and food provision, and he was manager at the Ark for quite a long time, and again very instrumental during COVID. He's great. He's with us only 2 days a week. I'd love to have him there more, but he packs in a lot of hours in those 2 days, which is great. And then we've got the lovely Beth, who sort of does a bit of our social media and website and also admin type things, and she's just a delight. So so we are tiny. I've never had such a small team, but actually it's lovely.
Yeah. So that's a team of 3.
Yep.
And part-timers in that and everything.
Yeah.
How are you? I mean, 5 weeks in, you may be developing this as you go along. This is really early days. Who are your strategic partners? Who are you connecting with in the city?
Well, I'm trying to connect with the churches, and there are 113 churches in the city, obviously of all denominations. Whether I get to visit all of them, I'm not sure, but I'm certainly doing my best. So obviously they are key partners. But I've also been, for example, Path, the homeless, dealing with rough sleepers in Plymouth, Shekinah, Trevi, charities that I've worked in myself previously. I mean, there are all sorts. For example, we run the Hygiene Hub, which is one of our projects at the moment, which we will be developing because it's really doing well. We're working with the Peninsula Dental School and also Dental Access Centre. And so they're sort of partnerships that we're trying to develop. And I would like to get other dental practices involved as well in that. I mean, health inequalities are high on our agenda, and I'm in the middle of writing sort of our next strategy, our kind of what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years, and obviously writing it as a team and with the amazing trustees that we've got. But health and well-being is up there, and as it is with our local government and nationally. The health service is fantastic, but it's a breaking point. And I think I read somewhere that 1 in 5 appointments are not related to physical health for GPs. So, actually there's a whole sort of holistic kind of health and well-being thing that needs to be addressed from a prevention point of view. And we can respond to that. And we're all quite excited in our team about a faith-based response to social prescribing, which is already happening in the city, which is great. And I've been passionate about this for a long, long time. But actually churches can play a part in that, where GPs, if they're aware of it, can start referring people to faith-based church groups. And actually the outcomes, research shows that the outcomes of doing that is fantastic from a mental health perspective.
Because you're breaking down isolation and loneliness, aren't you? Which is a key thing.
Which absolutely. And talking to a counsellor yesterday, she was talking about belonging. Actually, that's the big thing. And what do we all want? We all want to be accepted, and we all want to belong to something. And I think if we don't provide something amazing to belong to, then people will belong to maybe things that aren't healthy for them. And I'm going off track, but I'm thinking about young lads, actually, kind of incel groups and things like that. They're looking for something. And So, I mean, there's all sorts of, this is my scattered brain, is that I'm just like, oh yeah, we need to work with that. We need to do this. We need to do that. So I need to hone it down.
There's going to be a lot to connect with, isn't there, in the city this size? We're not a huge city by any means, biggest in the Southwest Peninsula, but an awful lot to do. What I'd like to do is take a break for some music, and I'd love to pick up on the Hygiene Hub because you mentioned it, and I know that's a practical, down to earth, easy to think, oh, that's a thing I can get my head into, and then expand out again. But I think it'd be good to come back to that. So we're listening to, well, you're listening to, hopefully, maybe watching as well, Laura Fraser-Crewes here from Transforming Plymouth Together. Don't forget, if you miss any of this interview, you can catch up on our Listen Again, and I'll give you that detail as we go through the show. Back right after this. That sounded like a DJ.
Yeah.
Ish.
Sorry, I went off piece then.
I like it. It's good because you came alive when you did it. It's what
I know, but that's the trouble, honestly. So my prayer every day is, Lord, can you just gather my scattered thoughts and put them into some sort of cohesive...
Probably. I don't know. For Karen does that. Karen's verbal processor. So
yes, I am.
I'm very much not. And it's like, once we realised that was what was going on, it's like, oh, okay. Until then, it was a nightmare. I just said, this thing has got deep value. How are you not taking it on board? And then you're like, 8 different things would come. And I'm like, which one of those are we on? Well, whichever one we land on.
Can I just catch up? This is why I'm single.
Well, I was just thinking when I was making a cup of tea earlier. I don't know why the tea's important, but it's where I was. That because we had our 10 years wilderness experience. Honestly, the space we're in now, I know it's painful for different things. It's like, man, that was worth it. It's like when I had a really, really heavy breakdown. Looking back, it's like, all right, to get where I am, that was worth it. And like this one, it's like, no, that 10 years, I wouldn't want to do it again. Yeah, no. But I'm glad we're here together.
It's always painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I can relate to that. Gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. No, I haven't. I'm not having it. I'm going to go by Pentecostal roots.
Yeah,
I'm not having it.
I'm not having it. Get it off you.
Yeah, that'll work. Right. Close that one. Yes. Save changes. No. Start a new project. 1 and 2 are done. Right. Here we go. Let's talk about the Hygiene Hub. Welcome back. This is part 3 of our interview with Laura Fraser-Crewes from Transforming Plymouth Together. Laura, the Hygiene Hub, you mentioned it a few minutes ago. What's that about? What is it?
Well, I'm not the expert in the team on this, so please forgive me if I make any errors. But the lovely John has sort of taken this concept and flown with it. So at the moment, the Hygiene Hub is about providing toothbrushes, toothpaste, and oral hygiene advice to people that might be struggling really to purchase those things or just struggling generally. And at the moment, we've got one in the uniform store, which is run by Vineyard in George Street in the city centre. But we recognise that people can't always get to the city centre, or it's expensive to do that. So we're opening our second one. I think it opens officially next Monday at Christchurch Elm Centre in Estover.
Okay.
And then we have aspirations to open another one in Devonport. And ideally that would be sort of maybe near St Joseph's Primary School, around that area.
Now, oral hygiene is a real indicator, isn't it? It's a real indicator on all kinds of statistics and lists about where difficulties are happening and challenges are faced by families and children in the city. Yeah. Is there other work that spins out from the Hygiene Hub, like signposting and that kind of thing for other services?
Yeah, again, it's not us doing, it's about working in collaboration. And I mean, it's just interesting. The statistics are really quite shocking. I think there are 4,000 children that don't have access to an NHS dentist, which is appalling. So have never been to to a dentist. There are, I think I heard that there's 1 in 5 children under 5 who have dental decay, visible dental decay. I mean, that again is shocking. And I think you're right. There's a health inequality, isn't there? In where are you, and where's your priority, and where are you? Where's your social standing? Which I think is just appalling. It's a real sort of indicator of where we are.
It's a difficult one.
It is really hard, and I completely get it. And interestingly, my soon-to-be son-in-law is in his final year training to be a dentist, and of course, he invariably won't be an NHS dentist because that's just doesn't stack up. Yeah, and it's a shame. So yeah, there is a problem. It's not just about providing toothbrushes and stuff like that. It's far better. It's about that education stuff. And I think the other lovely thing that we're doing, and this is another strand of our new strategy, is about accessibility, is there are special toothbrushes and toothpaste for those children who are on the autistic spectrum.
Okay.
So toothbrushes that I think they have rounder heads, so they're not so intrusive in your mouth, and toothpaste that doesn't froth and doesn't have a flavour, because of course actually it is quite overpowering, isn't it? Yep. And in my own experience of sort of autism, I know that kind of that sensory kind of taste and smell, it can be a bit overwhelming, can't it? So. Yeah.
But it's really, once you start to get into the nitty gritty of something as specific as oral health, it then opens up the whole world of what else is going on, doesn't it? And so much else to connect with. You mentioned them earlier, Plymouth Dental School, Peninsula Dental School, they're going to, great news, have a new hub opening up in the city centre, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, they already do work with the community. The students sort of, I would say, practice. They're obviously well supervised. Yep. That happens already, both at the Cumberland Centre area where the school is, and also up at Derriford. But yeah, to have sort of a shop front as well in the city centre is fantastic, and I love that the whole charitable aim of the school. I mean, it's a great school from what I can see. Yeah. And I know that I remember, when I worked at Shekinah, the homeless charity, that they would see our guys and, and actually particularly the women as well, who would be covering up their faces because they were so ashamed of their teeth, and to just see them smile again, and it makes a massive difference.
Well, it's a huge confidence issue, and it's an issue therefore of complete personal well-being.
Yeah, I agree. It is that, again, that holistic approach to healthcare.
So that's one thing that's going on in the city. Go on, you can say something.
I was just going to say, we're not stopping at oral healthcare. We want to progress into we're going to look at sanitary products. And I always have a bit of a laugh because John's often the one that's talking about this, and I can see him floundering slightly. But to be able to provide for a subscription kind of disposable sanitary products, but also ones that are, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but I think there's an organisation called Pakamama where you get people to sew reusable sanitary products together. I don't know the detail about it, but actually I love that idea, because that's another stream that we think we're going to go into, is, sort of sustainability and a greener churches, greener communities.
And a great conversation to have, because it's a conversation that doesn't happen, and therefore half the population, particularly young girls, are like sidelined into, no one's talking about this thing, I'm finding some difficulty keeping myself healthy here.
Absolutely. It's shocking, really, and I we don't want anybody to be suffering and feeling they've got to make do. So.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're going to take a break for some music. We'll come back and hear some more about the work of Transforming Plymouth Together right after this. Back soon, folks. Don't forget, listen again on crossribbons.co.uk/Plymouth. Search Listen Again, and you can get any part of this interview you've missed or want to listen again to. we're talking, I'm talking, you're listening. Hopefully you're, no, that's a rubbish way to start an interview and alienate your entire audience. I'm talking, you sit there and listen.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, community radio. Save changes, no thank you. Laura, we've been talking about a few things zoomed in on oral health, and that tends to connect us into children and young people quite naturally. You've got other work that you're a bit passionate about as far as young people's health is concerned. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I suppose something on my heart is sort of young boys, not young boys, but kind of teenage boys. It's always worried me, and I suppose those that know me know that I set up the Sunflower Women's Centre in the city, and so therefore very passionate about women, and particularly those that have kind of in recovery from violence, sexual violence and domestic abuse. And I suppose what I've always said, again from the prevention agenda, is we need to educate our boys. But when I look at it, we're in quite a fractured society, and we're doing a series at church on sex and sexuality, which is really amazing, and it's bringing up lots of debate. And one of the lads that I know came and talked to me about how at school pornography was really pushed on him, and you were bullied if you didn't participate almost or say that you used it. And he said it was awful. And I just think we need to, and I think churches need to, and church groups need to be a solution to that in some way for young men. And I don't even know what that looks like, but part of me thinks if you go back to biblical times, boys would apprentice to their dads. They almost never spent any time with their mums from teenage onwards. And they learned how to be men and husbands. And I feel like there could be some amazing older men in church groups that could mentor those kind of dadless lads, really. It sounds really simple, but it's far more complex than that. But it's just, I think how many lads at school are actually reluctant to be participating in, degradation of women online. How many are just doing it because they want to belong? We talked about that before. So I am passionate about that. And then, on the back of that, you look at kind of knife crime. Again, these are little boys that are playing, really. They don't know what they're doing, and they're destroying lives, but also destroying their own lives. And it just breaks my heart. Yeah. And I'm sure, it's breaking God's heart too. So I would love us to, we are equipped as Christians and Christian sort of church groups to do something. Yeah. So I'd love to. Yeah, I don't know what it looks like.
Well, I mean, there's a number of men's groups around. There is a rise both in church and outside of church circles of men starting to talk, whether it's mental health issues like men getting around issues of depression, or whether it's men just saying, hey, I need the company of men. I need to learn how to be a responsible person in all kinds of contexts that I find myself. I guess where you're coming from, it sounds like, from just listening to what you'd said, it was informed by your work with Sunflower, with helping women who'd been victims of domestic and sexual abuse. So you're coming from an informed position of, hey, maybe there's a step before this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did do a little bit of work. And there's still work going on via Trevi about that. But I just think there's more that can be done. It's teaching our boys. And I think they've just been a bit lost. There's like a couple of lost generations where they don't know their place in society. And I just think it's about building them and growing them to be good men. Yeah. So,
I think you're, I would go on for days on this, and I've said to Dave, could we do a podcast around this kind of issue? But it's, so that kind of thing in the church context, which TPT is strongly focused on, Would you see that as something you'd be taking forward, that your team would be up for taking forward?
Yeah, so part of our role is we've TPT historically has run a series of sort of training courses called Resourced, and I would really like to develop that training as part of my background as well. And I think what we want to do is equip church groups to just work on specific projects, and I think definitely, I mean, I like you, I could go on for days about this issue, and I think it's about growing the confidence of church groups to kind of deliver their own projects, and also recognizing that each community is different. What works in Whitley might not work in Stoke, for example. So so it's just kind of, using all the collective knowledge that I've got in the organisation and bringing in experts as well to kind of train up and equip people to do that work. But they've got to have the passion as well, haven't they? So,
got to come from the heart, because you ain't getting any money for it.
No. So in a sense, I think my job is going out and talking to the churches, and then hopefully somebody will go, oh yeah, gosh, that's really been on my heart. How can I do that? And then us working and being that conduit of change, really.
Laura, let's take a break for some music. We'll come back and speak some more about the wider work right after this. Don't forget, if you want to check out the Listen Again page, I know I said so how to do it earlier, but I think I garbled it, www.crossrhythms.co.uk/Plymouth, and find our Listen Again. You got a whole load of back issues, interviews, and all kinds of resources there for you, including this interview. And you can also share it with your friends. So there you go. We're back with you right after this. Okay. Laura, if I can go a little bit freestyle, let's just riff on this. So Transforming Plymouth Together, obviously together is a key part of that. You talked about the break between generations, really, and the desire to see particularly young men mentored by older men and brought into that. And mothers as well can play a part in that. So it's not exclusive, but initiation seems to be a big part of many, many cultures that are healthy, bringing a boy into another phase of life. Where am I going with this? Generations working together, as well as cross-party, cross-political boundaries, into church, into everything. Do you personally have much hope for those generations being able to work together in what you've said is a bit fractured at the minute?
Yes, I do. I think there are faith groups and Christian churches across the city who have people in there who are desperate to be part of the solution to things. I'm sort of laughing a bit because I've got a thing that we talked about when I worked at Trevi, actually, about sort of rent a granny. And I know that, I don't know if you've ever seen around the country that there are sometimes care homes that have visits from nursery schools and stuff like that, which I always think is really beautiful and great for both sides. But again, working at Sunflower Women's Centre, seeing a lot of them single mums who didn't have family around them. And I know that I relied on my mum quite a lot when I had my kids, just, for moral support, if anything else. And I think there are lonely ladies in churches, older ladies, who would actually love to step in and almost be like a mentor to a little family, just standing in there, maybe going off and saying, come on, let's go to Pennywell Farm, or let's go and do something lovely together, obviously with safeguarding in place. But there's a bit of that kind of, let's stand in there. Let's stand in that gap for that family. Because, again, at Sunflower, when I was working there, I think it's a much younger team now, but we were all like unofficial mums and grannies. which was lovely. And some of the ladies would say that. They'd come in and say, "Oh, you're just like my mum. I love that." So, we all need it, don't we? We just want to be loved and looked after, not judged. And that's what it's all about, really.
Acceptance and
I
belonging.
don't know if I answered your question, Ian.
You did. And I think acceptance and belonging being
Yes.
given by an older person is a huge thing for young
Massive.
people.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Transforming Plymouth Together. Let's think forward 12 months or maybe 18.
Yeah.
What is a good day going to look like for Laura 12, 18 months time in that context?
I should be laying out on my chaise longue and eating grapes, I hope.
Because all the work's being done.
Everything's
it's all going great.
Everything's been transformed. No, I think I would like there to be a really big buzz going on. I would like to have thriving churches, and I mean there are some lovely thriving churches already in the city, but all the churches being engaged in their communities and working alongside. I'd like the idea of sort of clusters of churches, your Baptists with your Methodists with your Church of England, kind of working together in their particular area to support whatever their primary problem is in that area. And that could be knife crime, it could be, boredom, or it could be whatever. Yeah. Actually they've come together to work together, and actually you've got happier communities and less, more money in the public purse. I sound like a politician now. So, because, they're not going to the GP every 5 minutes, and their teeth are great and they don't need a major general anaesthetic to have them removed. So, that's what I think. We were laughing yesterday in the office because we were saying, actually, Transforming Plymouth Together needs to be like the old Heineken advert. We need to reach the parts that other organisations aren't reaching, and that's what I would like us to be, not replicating anything, but actually getting in there and sorting. That's what I'm like. I'm like a good Girl Scout. I want to get in there and sort it out.
Brilliant. I mean, there is a lot going on, isn't there? I know that the Faith Action Audit 2010, millions of pounds of volunteer hours going into the city, and that was without the Salvation Army being audited. So goodness knows how much went in.
Yeah, they're amazing.
So much infrastructure, so many church buildings being used, open during the week. There's a huge amount going on. Not a PR job for the church, because the church will stand or fall by what it does, and that's the way it is. But there is a lot already going on, and Transforming Plymouth Together, helping to facilitate that, I guess, helping to connect that in a little bit more. Yeah,
and sometimes, they're perfectly capable of doing it without Transforming Plymouth Together. But I think there's some amazing pockets of work going on in communities. I think what I love about churches is they're right in the centre of their communities. You've got your building there. I think, there are probably a few churches that maybe want to do more, but potentially can't because maybe they haven't got enough people in there or what have you. I think it's TPT's role to go and say, well, look, what can we do? Who can we join you up with?
On that, how would, coming towards the end of the interview, how would interested people get in touch with TPT? Are you looking for churches, leaders, workers in church, faith-based works in the city to get in touch with you, and how would they do it?
Yeah, so we've got a website, Transforming Plymouth Together, but also you can email hello@transformingplymouthtogether.org.uk. I really do want to chat to anybody and everybody because I want to know what's going on. I'm being incredibly nosy at the moment, but I can't do anything if I don't know what's going on. And I'm getting to as many meetings as I can. So come and talk.
I guess your first phase of work is just to go out and talk to a million people and get exhausted in the process, and then go and make sense of it.
It's absolutely lovely because I've been working out of the city for a couple of years, and I love Plymouth. I'm not a Plymouthian, but I love Plymouth. It's really, where I'm supposed to be, I think. Yeah. And it's just a privilege. to meet up with people and chat to them. So, yeah.
It's great. Well, listen, it's been a privilege to have you on the programme, Laura. Thank you ever so much for coming in. Don't forget, if you want to catch more, check out the Listen Again page, trying to get the cameras to work. If you're just listening on audio, you've actually got a bonus here. Well, you've always got a bonus because you haven't got my ugly mug, but there you go. There we are, cameras working, back on it. It has been a privilege having you in the studio, Laura. Thank you very much for coming in. Great to hear about the beginning phase of what you're doing with TPT, even though it's been going for 10 years. Lovely to see you again in the future, hopefully. And so folks, if you want to find out more, transformingplymouthtogether.org.uk is where you head to, and you can engage there. Don't forget, we're here all day, every day with Cross Ribbons, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with music and life. We'll catch you next time on Community Matters.